So I want to talk about facility management. What I like about facility management is that nothing ever changes, and we all know that's not true. So part of the problem or challenge we've had recently is that there's a lot of things coming at the facility management profession or commercial real estate in general, really, that are sort of new activities, new items, new things to learn, and it's coming fast and furious.
Welcome to Connected FM, a podcast connecting you to the latest insights, tools, and resources to help you succeed in facility management. This podcast is brought to you by IFMA, the leading professional association for facility managers. If you're ready to grow your network and advance in your career, go to ifma.org to get started. Celebrate the new year and your career with new tools and resources. IFMA's kicking off 2023 with exciting new programs and materials to help you succeed. Whether it's staying up to date on industry changes and trends, getting access to emerging FM topics, or growing your FM network, we have blogs, podcasts, videos, and other resources that will help you succeed all year long. Join the association today and make 2023 the best year of your career. Hi, and welcome back to episode 5 of the podcast, where today we'll hear from Dean Stanberry, IFMA's first vice chair, as he covers the latest topics being explored by IFMA's new Emerging Topics Working Group. Dean discusses circular economy, climate change, ESG reporting, and more. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hi, this is Dean Stanberry, IFMA's first vice chair of the Global Board of Directors. So I want to talk about facility management. What I like about facility management is that nothing ever changes, and we all know that's not true. So part of the problem or challenge we've had recently is that there's a lot of things coming at the facility management profession or commercial real estate in general, really, that are sort of new activities, new items, new things to learn, and it's coming fast and furious. So it makes it very difficult to keep up with that for facility managers. And of course, information is coming from a lot of sources. Is it real? Is it good? So to take a look at that, the executive committee formed an emerging topics working group. And the topics that we're looking at are circular economy, climate change, ESG reporting, prop tech, and workplace wellness and well-being. So why those topics? Those seem to be the ones that everybody is talking about, but nobody knows much about. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared. So let's talk about these topics for a second. Circular economy. A lot of people, when you say that word, especially in the United States, don't really know what you're saying. What does that got to do with facility management? It sounds like it's economics, like it's accounting or something like that. And in some ways it is, but it's also a fundamental change in how we do the economy. And without going into detail, we have operated on what's known as a linear economy for a long time. And a circular economy is one where you're now making sure that the resources that you're pulling from the planet are put to best use, but also when you're done with that particular first use, that we have another use for them. And it's not just going into a landfill. One colleague put it to me, he said, the way I describe it is that you have a building, you have a receiving dock, and then you have a distribution center. And so you receive goods in, you distribute them to the business, they use them, they get done with them, and it goes out the door and it ends up right back on your receiving dock. So that's the circle, if you will. So in the U.S., we haven't done much with the circular economy yet. In other places such as Europe, they're a little further ahead. So it is advancing. We're going to need to make people aware of it. And that's what the intent of this is. What does the FM need to know? How much do they need to know right now? When do they need to know it? Moving on to climate change, this is not a new topic. It's been around for a while. We're seeing an accelerated interest in what's going on with climate. Of course, more and more disasters have been happening between wildfires, floods, more intense hurricanes, and things like that. We need to be a little more aware of what our risks are. For that, we've actually put out a couple of papers. There's climate change fundamentals for facility managers and adapting to climate change for facility managers. The first paper is really just an explainer. It takes about 3,000 pages of dense scientific material and boils it down to a simple to understand, about 30 report that gives the facility managers what you need to know and what's happening. The adapting to climate change is really getting into how do you do a climate risk assessment to determine what your risks are. And then from there, you can start to determine how do I either adapt to the risk, avoid the risk, which may be moving someplace else, or accept the risk and basically take your chances, roll the dice. I don't think we're ever going to get a flood, and hope that never happens. Next one is ESG reporting. So environmental, social, and governance. That's caused it's on everybody's lips. We've heard a lot about ESG, but there are no formal standards yet. So that's one of the challenges, is that a lot of people are talking about it, but we can't really say that there is a formalized way of reporting for environmental, social, and governance. But we have governmental bodies getting involved. The Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, has produced a proposed set of guidelines, reporting guidelines for ESG reporting. And this is primarily oriented at protecting investors. It makes it auditable. These are disclosure requirements so that if somebody gives you an ESG report, can you depend on the data that's in there, that it's not falsified in any way or embellished in any way? The predecessor to ESG was called corporate social responsibility. Again, no standards. And what happened there is that a lot of companies were accused of greenwashing, as they called it, that you were making claims that either were not true or you weren't living up to. And ESG standards are intended to make that harder to do. So what do facility managers need to know? Certainly the environmental part of it. A lot of it are items that the facility manager will need to report to their corporate office. So what you need to know there is whatever you're reporting could be subject to auditability. The basic way I explain it is that if you're reporting on an energy efficiency, can you prove that number is accurate? In other words, how trustworthy is it? Was that sensor calibrated? Can you verify that calibration? When you get into some of the other areas, such as social and governance, that gets into diversity, and basically how you treat people. Governance is more of a policy. How is the corporation setting policy, and how does that now then flow down through the organizations, and how is that being governed? It's a subjective and not objective measurement. So it's a little more subjective, but we can expect there will be some ways to determine whether or not the social policies and governance policies are effective. So that kind of covers ESG for the time being. We also get into PropTech, or property technology. That is a term that is used to cover essentially the explosion of technology that is affecting the workplace and all of the facility management these days, whether it's sensor measurement type tools that analyze and give you reports on data, certainly new types of equipment, new instrumentation with new equipment that's coming out. It's massive, and we're producing terabytes of sensor data. So how do we analyze that? How do we turn that data into information, and then turn the information into insight? One of the challenges with the commercial real estate industry is that because it's the last industry to go digital, there's low level of technical skills and experiences. And so we need to raise the bar. So giving someone a fancy new tool doesn't help if they don't understand the data that is being absorbed and analyzed by the tool. So you can put up a pretty chart, but if you don't know whether the data that produced the chart is trustworthy, or even if you don't even know where that data came from, then that is a challenge. That means that you're probably making business decisions based on potentially bad information. And last one is workplace wellness and well-being. So what does that mean? How is it different from what we've been talking about? The early days of workplace wellness and well-being really focused on a lot of indoor air quality. Are we keeping the fans going? Is the CO2 levels at a reasonable rate? But now as we move forward, we start looking at a lot of other aspects of health and well-being, the water quality, all sorts of things that affect the work environment. How do we tell and convince people that the workplace is a healthy place to be? Are we offering them healthy choices? If we're offering food or drink, water, and those kinds of things in the office, how do they know that those are good choices to have and not bad choices? And also even thinking about from mental health, wellness, and well-being, how do you feel in the workplace? Is it a safe space? Is it a place that you feel comfortable going to, arriving at, and spending time in? So there's a whole new set of sciences and concerns around that. Our next task is really looking at where do we find information, credible, authoritative information? What does the FM need to know today? Is it just building awareness, just making someone aware of circular economy, which is appropriate for that one? But in prop tech, that's really right here and now. We have to elevate our learning. We have to elevate our knowledge in that area and really get to practical application, because a lot of tools are being deployed, sometimes without the FM's review and approval or knowledge, and now they're expected to work with them. So I think I'll leave it at that for now. If anybody is interested in more information, we have some things planned for Facility Fusion to start looking at some of the output from this working group and some of our subject matter experts. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Dean Stanberry for a great episode on the emerging topics we're seeing in facility management. And as usual, we will be back 2 weeks from today with a new episode on the enhancing effects of biophilia at the workplace. Thanks so much for listening, and please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode. Connected FM is a production of the International Facility Management Association. If you want more great content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IFMA Global.